Hello, hello. Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to True Crime with your books. I'm your books. And thank you guys so much for coming. Oh, and I'm on Kick too. So Kick loves to notify people. Gotta love them for it. Hey there, Elbaba. Good evening. Hey, Fiend. Might be having a stroke. You might be? Or I might be. I might be. Hey, Streets. Oh. Oh my God, I didn't even think about, should I literally put like an epilepsy warning up there? Like, is that a trigger? I didn't even think about that. Oh my goodness. Oh, you gave me something to freak out all night about. Hey, Skinny, welcome. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Tonight, as you can see, showcased by this beautiful picture slideshow, we are going to be reviewing or going over trials day 1 and 2 for the alleged murderer charged with killing Aniah Blanchard. It's a capital murder charge. If he's found guilty, he's able to be put to death or life without parole. So this jury has a lot to weigh here. So unfortunately, this trial, the judge had a strict gag order on it, and no information has come out at all. They were very good at leaks, not getting through. And so today, all we can do is basically base our reporting of what went on in the trial according to news media that is reporting from the courtroom, which I really don't trust any main media these days. So that's unfortunate, but we're going to have to make do with what we got. But I don't, because I'm so staunchly, free Rick Allen, like I can't do trials where the judges don't allow video or audio recording. It just seems so sketchy to me. Every time it's like, what are you hiding? Right? And I don't want to feel that about this case because Aniah Blanchard went missing in October of 2019. And from that evening, I followed her case and all the updates and, have followed since and all the amazing things her family has done in her name, like Aniah's Law. So this case is really important to me because Aniah touched me. There was just something about Aniah that I connected to. And so I knew if I was ever going to start a channel and this trial was ever going to be a thing, because 7 years later, I knew I would want to cover for Aniah because Aniah was a very special young woman, and she should still be here with us. And it's really unfortunate that she's not. So we got to support the family and hopefully see that justice is done here. But I feel so icky about no video cameras. Fiend says, uneven gait. He has an uneven face. I've seen that picture. Skinny says, who clocked that dude in the eyeball? You know, that's funny because Skip Jensen was in the comments from my last live stream about Aniah. Let's see if I can pull that up. It was really interesting. I did not know this at all. Hold, please. Okay, so Skip said he's not the first person who slipped and fell and came away with some swelling while in the custody of Scambia County Sheriff's Department. Considering what he was suspected of, he should consider himself lucky. If you're a fugitive, Pensacola, Florida is not the place to seek a safe harbor. So I thought that was funny, and I was like, well, I'm glad he picked the perfect place to run away to. Very happy. Yeah, so no cameras, no audio, gag order, no information has come out really. I also am learning some news through these updates during trial of information I was not aware of before that I find concerning, and we'll get there. Hey, Free Ricky Bay. All right, so before we get into this, let's just do a little intro video. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where you at? Here.
And breaking right now, opening statements and testimony just wrapped up for day one of the capital murder trial of Ibraheem Yazeed. Now, he is charged in the 2019 death of Homewood native Aniah Blanchard. Yazeed is charged with 3 counts of capital murder. ABC 3340's Gracie Johnson was in the courtroom all day, and she is live right now in Macon County with what happened. Gracie?
Muriel, today was the first full day of testimony, and jurors were walked through a timeline of the night Aniah Blanchard disappeared. Prosecutors outlined the evidence that they say tied Ibraheem Yazeed to Aniah Blanchard's disappearance, and defense attorneys urged jurors to focus on unanswered questions and reminded them that the state carries the burden of proof. Throughout the day, the state called 9 witnesses as prosecutors started walking jurors through what they say happened. Jurors heard from Aniah's brother, who testified that the two lived in Auburn and had gone to a funeral earlier that day. He told the court they drove back home together that night, and he became emotional, describing how she dropped him off at his house, saying that was the last time he saw or spoke to her. Aniah's roommate also took the stand and talked about Snapchat messages they exchanged that night. She told jurors the messages eventually stopped, which raised concern the next morning when Aniah never came home. Gas station employees then identified surveillance video shown and described what they remember from the night. Jurors also heard how Aniah's vehicle was later found at an apartment complex 2 days after she disappeared. The day wrapped up just before 4 o'clock here, with the judge saying that the next witness would be extensive and they wanted to start with that tomorrow morning. In Macon County, Gracie Johnson.
Okay, so that was just a little recap of day one. Hey Prime, hey Keith, welcome, thanks for coming in. Skinny, I have the case overview linked below. I did like a whole overview of it last time we spoke about Aniah. Hopefully I can put the pieces together for you tonight though. So let's get to which one did I like? Who gave the best notes? Yeah, this one. There we go. Okay. So, opening statements and testimony began Monday in the capital murder trial of Ibraheem Yazeed in connection with the 2019 disappearance and death of 19-year-old Aniah Blanchard. Yazeed is charged with 3 counts of capital murder, murder during a kidnapping, murder during a robbery, and murder involving a shooting into a vehicle. He has pleaded not guilty. 9 witnesses testified Monday as the state began presenting its case. The opening statements. Prosecutors began by outlining a timeline of October 23, 2019, the night Blanchard disappeared. Okay, they told jurors Blanchard attended a funeral earlier that day with her brother, Elijah Blanchard. After stopping in Birmingham to visit family, the two returned to Auburn together that night. According to the state, Blanchard dropped off her brother off at his home about 11 p.m. and left to return to her apartment. Prosecutors said she was scheduled to pick up children she babysat the next morning. The state said Blanchard then headed toward her apartment near the Chevron gas station on South College Street. At that point, prosecutors paused and shifted to Yazeed's movements. They told jurors that Yazeed came to Auburn on October 22, 2019, with Sherry Wyatt and Wyatt's daughter, Angel. Angel was at some point later dropped off at her grandmother's home in Elmore County. According to prosecutors, Yazeed was with Sherry Wyatt the night of the 23rd. The state told jurors that Wyatt was engaged in prostitution at the time and had told Yazeed she needed money. Prosecutors said Yazeed agreed to take her to Columbus so she could work, but instead they returned to the Clarion Hotel area. The state told jurors Yazeed left his phone behind and disappeared for a period of time, later telling Wyatt he had gone to check on his white friends at a hotel, leaving her in the area. Okay, so before we go any further there, I'm going to pull up some map references. We love a map. Because as I was reading the details of the opening statement and the witness testimony, I was like trying to put it together in my head of where everything was and try to make sense of it. So thought, let me just Google Earth it. Let me just do a gray hues. There we go. Hey everyone, just making sure you guys are still good. Thanks for being champs in the chat. All right, so this is Auburn, Alabama. The chevron they're referencing now is right here. And I'm going to take a street view of that. Okay. So, where did that go? Oh. So, according to prosecutors, Yazeed was with Sherry Wyatt the night of the 23rd. The state told jurors Wyatt was engaged in prostitution at the time. Yazeed agreed to take her to Columbus so she could work, but instead they returned to the Clarion Hotel area. So this was the chevron area that Aniah was abducted from. Here. Now it's a marathon. And right next door is the Clarion we'll see referenced multiple times. during trial. So he was literally staying there with this chick, this prostitute, right next door to where Aniah was abducted from. Okay. Now, prosecutors then returned to the Chevron timeline. They told jurors surveillance video shows Yazeed entering the Chevron at 11:53 p.m. Blanchard's vehicle pulled into the parking lot around 11:20 p.m. We're talking a difference of seconds, guys. And she entered the store around 11:21 p.m. Just like that. Talk about the worst place, worst time. Prosecutors said that when Blanchard walked into the store, Yazeed was standing at the register, and he can be seen on the surveillance video watching her enter. They said the video shows him appearing to look back again as she walked in. At approximately 11:22 and 30 seconds p.m., the prosecutor said Yazeed exited the store. Okay, so he is the first to go in. She comes right after, and then he leaves before she even makes her purchase. The state told jurors Blanchard purchased a bag of chips and was in the parking lot shortly after. Prosecutors said she had her phone at that time. Prosecutors then skipped to around 11:24 p.m. when they said a black vehicle pulled into the Murphy Oil gas station. They told jurors surveillance video shows... Okay, I was kind of reading this too quick. Prosecutors then skipped to around 11:24 p.m. Okay, so that's 2 minutes after Ibraheem leaves the store. They said a black vehicle pulled into the Murphy Oil gas station. They told jurors surveillance video shows Yazeed exiting the passenger side of that vehicle, purchasing rolling papers and cigars, and then returning to the vehicle before it drove away. Prosecutors said the vehicle then looped back toward the area near the Clarion Hotel and nearby gas stations. The state said Blanchard's phone stopped communicating around 11:47 p.m., and her vehicle was later seen traveling south toward Montgomery around 12:34 a.m. Prosecutors said they do not know what occurred during that time span. Prosecutors then told jurors that between approximately 3 and 4 a.m., Yazeed went to the home of David Johnson II, also known as Big Dave, and rang the doorbell asking for a ride. According to the state, Johnson told him he could not take him anywhere, and prosecutors said Yazeed told him, "Me and my girl got into it." Prosecutors said Johnson woke up a man known as Squirmy to take him. The state told jurors this is when they allege Blanchard's body was later disposed of. The state also told jurors that Blanchard's black Honda CR-V was located on October 25th at Park Place Apartments after a BOLO alert was issued. In opening statements, prosecutors said the vehicle contained blood in the passenger area and a bullet hole in the interior door. Okay, so we knew that much information from the news, that they found her car a couple days later. There was a bullet hole in the door and a lot of blood on the passenger's area of the vehicle. Prosecutors further told jurors that Blanchard's remains were located in a wooded area near a church more than a month after she disappeared. The state said experts discovered a spent bullet near where her head had been once located, and that there was a bullet hole in her skull. Oh, God. I hate human beings. Big Dave. Skinny says Big Dave. So that's just the state's opening. See what the defense had to say. Defense attorneys reminded jurors that opening statements are not evidence and that Yazeed is presumed innocent. They told jurors the case had already been tried by the media and emphasized that the burden of proof rests entirely with the state. See, I don't like that argument. Not to hate on the defense, even though I'm sensitive to this case, so I'm going to low-key be a little biased here with the defense, but this case was like, it did gain national attention. Don't get me wrong. They did get to appear on Ashley Banfield and Dr. Phil, and they had some attention, but it by no means was this like a huge case. I remember when I was doing the case overview, no one in the chat had even heard about Aniah. So by no means was this case that big at all. Even though her dad was a UFC fighter, you would have thought that this case would be even bigger because her stepdad was a UFC fighter, but no. White woman syndrome. All right, so defense attorney questions at the end of the case about whether Yazeed committed the crimes charged. They must return a not guilty verdict. The defense criticized aspects of the investigation, including referencing former prosecutor Brandon Hughes as a convicted liar. Defense attorneys told jurors they would hear evidence that a man referred to as Squirmy made multiple statements to investigators and argued that Hughes told him it did not matter what he had done and that he would take care of him. Oh, God, we've got a Nick McClelland in here, ladies and gentlemen. Defense attorneys also told jurors that Squirmy led investigators directly to where Blanchard's body was found and argued that his role in the case would be central. They stated that Squirmy is for certain a killer and said jurors would hear testimony raising questions about credibility and investigative decisions. The defense reiterated that the state must prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt. That is true. This is entirely their burden. Skinny says it was probably big locally. Oh yeah, I'm sure it was tremendous. I loved in that media clip we watched just then too. If you noticed, her entire family as they were walking in were wearing blue. It's Aniah's favorite color. That's why I'm wearing blue. And it's, yeah, that was just cool to see them all walking in wearing blue. Very cool. Okay, so here they're already talking about Squirmy, okay? And they say that he is for certain a killer. Well, we know from the last episode, going through Squirmy's rap sheet history, he was actually, in fact, convicted of murder. And he got out of prison doing like 3 years time for it, which is very odd. Don't get it. My eyes are, no. This counts. The avatar being blue fiend, that counts. And no, your sky in your background doesn't count, so don't even try. Okay, so testimony. Elijah Blanchard is Aniah's brother, whom her older brother she's very close to. Elijah Blanchard testified that he traveled with his sister to a funeral on October 23rd and returned to Auburn with her that evening. He testified that she dropped him off at home and that he later learned the next morning she had not returned to her apartment. He testified that after realizing she had not come home, he contacted his mother. Hold on, because I think I saw better notes for his testimony than that somewhere. I don't like that. Of course not. Alrighty. Let's try.
Michael, well, back to our other big story at this hour. Her witnesses take the stand in the murder trial of Ibraheem Yazeed, saying he killed Aniah Blanchard back in 2019.
A security camera captured Blanchard at a gas station in Auburn. She was reported missing the next day. Then over a month later, authorities discovered her remains in a wooded area off of County Road 2 in Shorter.
Jury selection in Yazeed's trial ended last week with 10 women, 6 men. Those numbers include 4 alternates. WVTM 13's Lisa Crane was there for the opening statements and witness testimony today. She has the latest.
The Alabama Attorney General's office is prosecuting Ibraheem Yazeed in this capital murder case. In opening statements, they talked about the video evidence showing Yazeed in Aniah Blanchard's SUV late on the night of October 23rd, 2019. We heard from several prosecution witnesses, the prostitute who was with Yazeed just before Blanchard disappeared, the cashier at the Chevron where the victim and defendant were caught on video also testified, and the most...
Yo, which one was the prostitute, though? Hey, Stephanie, what up? Hey, girl, hey. Where'd that video go? Here.
Emotional testimony came from Aniah's older brother, Elijah. He was the last to see her alive when she dropped him off at his Auburn home after they traveled together to Winfield for a funeral. He testified he told her to go straight home and call him when she got there. That call never came. The courtroom is packed with family and friends, but some didn't know the victim or defendant but felt connected to the case that's now almost 7 years old.
I do see the mom post, and just my heart just breaks for her because I have children of that age who are out, girls, and just to see her when she posts, it's just heartbreaking. And when she came, when she shared about the case coming up, any people who wanted to come support, it was open. Aniah's favorite color was blue, so I did want to be here to support.
This trial could last 2 weeks, and if convicted, Yazeed could face life in prison or the death penalty. In Tuskegee, Lisa Crane, WVTM 13.
There's a state law named in Aniah Blanchard's honor called Aniah's Law. This law prevents violent offenders from bond eligibility.
All right. Oh, let's go back there, actually. Stop. Okay, so I wish I had way more details. So he testified that after realizing she had not come home, he contacted his mother. Then there was a Chevron clerk who testified. A Chevron clerk, again, that's the Chevron that she was abducted from, that was now a marathon in the image. A Chevron clerk testified that he was working at the gas station on October 23rd, 2019. Surveillance video from that evening was shown in court. He testified he did not observe any illegal activity or conversation between Yazeed and Blanchard inside the store. Then Randy Franklin. Randy Franklin, another Chevron employee, testified that he was at the Chevron that night, though he was not working at the time. He identified Yazeed in surveillance footage and testified he did not see anything unusual. Michael Antoine testified that he was at the Chevron that night after leaving a gym in Auburn. He said he remained in his vehicle while his friend went inside. He testified that he saw a woman park, enter the store, and return to her vehicle. He said he eventually got out of the car and briefly spoke to Blanchard in passing, but she did not reply, and he did not observe anything unusual before leaving. That's okay. Sarah O'Brien. Sarah O'Brien testified that she was Aniah's roommate at the time and that they communicated primarily through Snapchat and shared their locations. She testified that earlier in the evening, she asked Blanchard if she was close to home after attending the funeral, and Blanchard had responded that she was. O'Brien told jurors that at approximately 11:38 p.m., okay, so this is much after the 11:24 or 11:25 video of Ibraheem Yazeed in that black car in the passenger side. This is a good 14 minutes later. So Blanchard sent a message stating that she was smoking a blunt, LOL. Okay, that's important. When O'Brien later asked who she was with, she testified that Blanchard responded, Eric. O'Brien said she asked who that was and testified that Blanchard replied, I just met him. O'Brien testified she was then asked, O'Brien testified she then asked where Aniah was, but did not receive a response. She said Blanchard's Snapchat location showed her behind the Taco Bell near South College Street in Auburn. She testified that she sent 2 additional messages after that, but did not receive another response. The next morning, she said she went to Blanchard's room and discovered she had not returned home. Okay, so in my last episode, when we were going over the case, I talked about those Snapchat messages and them being weird. And I believe I even alluded to maybe them not even being her. But now reading this information from trials day 1 and 2, it sounds like that was actually, in fact, Aniah on her phone. Okay? So I don't know if it's here. Let me find the other one. There was another article that referenced Sarah's testimony, and she was asked if Aniah was the type to ever just go hang out with someone she just met. And Sarah testified that she did. So I believe also in my last episode, when I was overviewing the case, I said that Aniah's behavior wasn't like, she wasn't that type of girl that would just randomly go off and meet a stranger and go hang out. That's like what I thought I read years back, but apparently being proven wrong in real time during trial. But it's good to have this information, right? Because that puts a lot of pieces together that didn't make sense back then. So now we know from the timeline. Let's go over here. She's at the Chevron. She enters right after Ibraheem Yazeed. He exits first, then she exits, and apparently is either in her vehicle or by her vehicle, according to that witness. And then the car is seen on video near some other fuel station a couple minutes later. And then it's seen at this Taco Bell on that same street. So what it sounds to me like, and I'm trying my best to put the dots together as I can with what minimal we're getting. It sounds to me like she was by her car or in her car. He may have asked if she wanted to smoke a blunt, or like, hey, can you take me to go get some papers? They don't have any, or something like that, and I'll smoke this blunt with you, right? Because then the car's seen at that next gas station. He gets out of the passenger side of her car. He buys papers, and he gets back in her car. Then some 14 minutes later, Aniah is Snapchatting that she's smoking a blunt with some guy she just met named Eric. Now, as you guys might have noticed, Ibraheem is not named Eric. So what is that? I mean, to me, that tells me that he gave her a fake name. And that already sets like a bad intent taste in my mouth. Why were you giving her a fake name? Anywho, 14 minutes later, they're apparently smoking a blunt. And this is when they're supposedly behind that, or by that Taco Bell, when they pinged her phone, or when she looked at Aniah's location on Snapchat. She was here at this Taco Bell, just down the way from the Chevron. And I forgot to put Murphy's Oil in here, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's on this same pathway, right? So they go pick up papers and then they drive to this Taco Bell, and he shares the blunt with her. Makes sense to me. Okay. The next morning, this is Sarah again. The next morning, she said she went to Blanchard's room and discovered she had not returned home. We also know that when Sarah woke up and she checked Aniah's room, her dog was there. And Aniah would never leave her dog like that overnight. That, I know that is so true. Kayla Williams then testifies. Kayla Williams testified that she worked at, here's the second gas station, okay? She worked at Murphy Oil in October 2019 and testified about surveillance footage from the gas station in Auburn that night. She testified that video showed a black vehicle pulling up and a man exiting from the passenger side before re-entering the vehicle and leaving. She testified she did not observe anything unusual at the time. Corinna Soto. Corinna Soto testified that Blanchard babysat for her children and was expected at her home around 9 a.m. on October 24th, 2019, but did not arrive. Adrienne Pringle. Adrienne Pringle testified that she worked at Park Place Apartments and was notified on October 25th about a vehicle matching a Bolo. I forgot to share tab. Matching a Bolo alert on the property. She contacted law enforcement. Okay, so again, going back here, this is all the Chevron, the abduction, and all this is going on in Auburn. Aniah's car was found 55 miles south of that location. 55 miles south at these apartment complexes that this woman apparently worked at. Officer Shamika Jackson testified that she responded to the apartment complex on October 25th regarding the vehicle on a black Honda CRV and observed blood in the passenger area through the driver's window. God, so right when they, that sucks. Right when they find the car, they automatically see the blood, and no, it's not good. Okay, let's get the more recent update. Bree says, don't share a blunt with strangers or people. People have germs. Yeah. I know when I was young, and even to this day, sometimes I would have an issue like saying no to people when they come up to me. More so when it's like a guy trying to like get your number or something, so you give them like a fake one, or sometimes it's almost like a fear of telling someone no. Especially when you're younger. I know a lot of women that have felt like that way. I don't know what it is, where we almost feel like we have to be agreeable. But granted, this guy probably came off smooth, charming, nice. We have no idea, you know? All right, now, well, is the other stuff I was looking for. I got you. Okay. So after the cop testified, the court wrapped up at 3:45. This was on Monday. Okay. So day 2 of trial. It started at 9 a.m. and it was a short day. So today ended before noon, which is interesting to me, but we'll see. Okay, so Kaniah Fisher and David Big Dave Johnson are the next people to testify. Bear with me 1 second, guys. One day I'll be prepared completely. Here we go. Here we go. Where did it go? Where did it go? There we go. All right. Here we, oh, look at these, this is much better details. All right. So the state's first witness today was a former corporal with the Montgomery Police Department's Crime Scene Bureau. The investigator who had photographed and processed Aniah's vehicle for evidence detailed her findings to the state, which included a fired shell casing, a backpack, a glass pipe, possible blood pools in the carpet, and a possible cleaning agent dripping down the glove box. Okay, so this is Aniah's vehicle when it was found 55 miles south in Montgomery. And I'm not sure if this was stated yet or not, but Ibraheem Yazeed lived in Montgomery. Fired shell casings were, one fired shell casing were submitted to the state's Department of Forensic Science, but the investigator said they were not aware of any evidence linking the casings to Yazeed. That's troubling. The witness testified that they did not investigate the damage to the vehicle's exterior and could not say what had caused it. Does it just mean that they didn't testify, or like no one investigated the vehicle at all? Because that would be a problem. God, I hope not. When asked by the defense if it was possible that a struggle had taken place in the back seat of the car leading to shots being fired, they testified that it was. The investigator added that there were no fingerprints ever found belonging to Yazeed and that they had never checked for Aniah's fingerprints. What are they doing? The investigator testified that the car was never tested for cleaning products, noting that they did not believe it was something the forensics lab could do. Damn. Oh, I thought I was sharing. What happened? You guys. There we go. There we go. Oh, God, help me. No! Surprise alert. Surprise attack. Okay. This is not sounding great, by the way. And I really wish Richard Allen's trial, when they had been doing the updates, they had laid out the horrible evidence and been honest about it in those articles. Because look at here, they're being completely honest here with the defense's rebuttal of the witnesses and the information. Appreciate real journalism. The witness emphasized that because the Auburn Police Department was the lead agency in the investigation, their involvement was limited to the tasks APD requested. Okay, so there we go. I feel better. They were not the lead agency, so that was not their job. Witness testimony from the daughter of Antoine Squirmy Fisher. Antoine Squirmy Fisher's daughter, who was living in Montgomery with her grandfather at the time, took the stand and spoke at length about her encounter with Yazeed on the morning of October 24th when he appeared at their house between 3 and 4 a.m. asking for a ride. Okay, so this is the driver of the vehicle, alleged driver of the vehicle that was used to dispose of Aniah's body, to take it to, you know what I mean. Okay, so this is the daughter of that guy, and she's testifying that she remembers between the hours of 3 and 4 a.m. she saw Yazeed at their home. She notably recalled that Yazeed was barefoot and visibly dirty when he showed up at their front door. She said Yazeed would not tell her why he needed a ride or what had happened before he had arrived at her home. She testified that her father, Squirmy, had woken up to use the bathroom, and her grandfather, David Johnson Jr., asked him to drive Yazeed instead. This is consistent with Big Dave's testimony, okay? He testified that Ibraheem showed up really late in the morning asking for a ride, and that him and his girlfriend got into it. She's recalling this happening herself independently between 3 and 4 a.m. on the 24th. She then recalled noticing a black vehicle near the neighbor's yard from her bedroom window a short time before she left for school. By the time she went out to the bus stop, the vehicle was gone. That's interesting. Okay, so witness testimony, Big Johnson, Big Dave. Johnson, who said he knew of Yazeed through his son, recounted the hours after Yazeed left with Squirmy. Okay, so now he's testifying about afterwards, after Yazeed left with his son-in-law, Squirmy. Johnson testified that he had initially refused to give Yazeed a ride, stating that he had to drive his grandchild to school, but said he eventually allowed Squirmy to take his truck to transport Yazeed. Johnson said that he heard his tailgate close and he saw Yazeed on the side of the truck. He then said that he noticed a black SUV with its taillights on around the same time and was confused as to why Yazeed was asking for a ride if he already had a vehicle. He noted that he was later forced to call his stepdaughter to help get his grandchild to school because his vehicle had not been returned. Johnson said that he later called Squirmy to check up on them and that Yazeed answered the phone stating that they were on their way back. Johnson testified that he fell asleep around that time and woke up around 3 p.m., at which point Squirmy had returned with his truck. So gone for almost like 12 hours. Court recessed after Johnson's testimony concluded at around 11:20 a.m. Now, I'm curious why on the second day of trial they're already ending so short, and it's making me wonder, they must have had like motions to go through possibly, but we don't get to see any of that when the trial isn't filmed. We don't get to see the lawyers discussing all the things they want in or out or any of that stuff, but it does concern me that they possibly have that much to work out, so much so that they had to recess court, because that's actually what happened today in Corey Richmond's trial. They recessed the jury after spending like 4 hours or something going over like what they wanted in or out. So that's concerning. But what's interesting to me is that the defense is trying, according to their opening, it sounds like they want to pin this on Squirmy. And you've now not only got Squirmy's father-in-law saying, but I answered the door for Ibraheem, And he was stating, I need a ride, me and my girl got into it. That's before Squirmy even enters the picture, because his daughter, granted it's his daughter, testifies that she woke up around 3 to 4 and remembers details such as Ibraheem's feet being dirty, or being barefoot, and him appearing to be dirty. And that's another independent witness saying that Ibraheem showed up alone between 3 and 4 a.m. So in order for you to pin it on Squirmy, now you've got to make it like something happened to Aniah after that. And it's going to be hard to do. However, I am concerned that there's a lack of evidence, but I'm hoping the state is just building their timeline out a little more. Three hours talking in circles from Brisa. Yeah, it was insane. But again, I'm not too concerned, because the timeline is, we always say with the Free Richard Allen crew, attack the timeline. The timeline pretty lines up, right? We've got Aniah at the Chevron. She exits the Chevron after him. A witness sees her go to her car, or maybe in her car, and her not respond to him. And then only a couple minutes later, they're leaving. She's leaving with him, and Ibraheem Yazeed is in her passenger seat, and they get out at the Murphy Oil. Let me see if I can look that up. Murphy. What did you do? Murphy Oil. Auburn. No? Let's see how close this one is to. Oh, that ain't it. Well, okay. Maybe another day, maybe another time. But anyway. So then they're seen on surveillance. He gets out of her passenger side at the Murphy Oil. He purchases rolling papers. He gets back in her vehicle. Aniah is Snapchatting her roommate. Her location is at this Taco Bell after the purchase of the papers, where she tells her roommate, I'm smoking a blunt. This is presumably actually Aniah. So whatever happened likely happened right after they started smoking that blunt behind the Taco Bell. Now, what's concerning me also is that it was reported earlier that, where is it? It was reported early in the case that a witness had come forward to say that they saw Aniah being forced into her car, and that they didn't come forward earlier because their girlfriend told them not to. Well, according to what's going on in the trial so far, the state is saying they're not contending that she didn't go with him willingly. So what happened to the witness that witnessed her being forced into her car? And why is the state not presenting that yet? I'm hoping that's to come, but from what I'm reading from the updates, it sounds like that's the rest of the surveillance. Because they've already gone through the timeline of seeing Aniah's car going down that highway before it ends up in Montgomery, 55 miles south. So they've already told and explained the surveillance timeline in their opening, and they didn't mention anything about a witness seeing Aniah being forced against her will in that car. So I am dying to know what happened with that. What happened there? And there's a gag order on this trial, so I need to learn how to put in for information and see what I can get, but there's been a gag order on this case, so I doubt I'd even be able to look at anything online on my case or anything because everything's been shut down. But I need to know what happened to that witness because obviously something happened. I mean, that's a huge thing to be reporting you found a witness who saw her being forced into her car, and now suddenly, poof, that witness just isn't a thing anymore. What the hell happened there, right? Hi, Candy. Welcome. I was just wrapping up because, unfortunately, this trial is not being filmed. They're relying on notes and sketches. But hopefully we get more details tomorrow, and I'm going to try to do some digging into what is going on with the reporting of that witness seeing Aniah being forced in. Because in my head, if she was forced into her car, we know that he gets out of her passenger side to buy the papers at Murphy Oil. We know that Aniah ends up losing her life while she's in the passenger side of the car. So if Ibraheem had forced her into the car, the only time it could have been witnessed or happened was around the Taco Bell time after the blunt share. So that would make the most sense. Someone saw her getting forced into that vehicle around there, right? But for some reason, now this witness is not a thing at trial. So I'm going to try my best to figure out what happened with that and report on it. Not tomorrow. So tomorrow we do another day of trial. Because these updates are the way they are and we don't have access inside, I'm going to double up the days. So not tomorrow, but Thursday, we'll do another episode rebuffing on the next 2 days and so on and so forth. All right. Thank you guys so much. Those of you who came tonight to go over this case with me, I really appreciate it. Aniah Blanchard, she's special to me. Like, her story just touched me, and it's been really important to me to follow this along the whole way through, and I really appreciate you guys for joining me for that. So thank you, and I love you guys so much, and I will see you Thursday, and if not Thursday, I'll see you on Friday for Friday True Crime Day, where I'm gonna talk shit about all this stuff. I love you guys. Bye.